So what I'm about to show you is an important aspect of, it's a bad pun, an important aspect of astrology that is sort of overlooked, because when people talk about aspects, they usually talk about them with respect to equal zodiacal degrees. And of course there is, merit in that. I'm just looking at the current chart right now. In this tool, I can go in here and look at the moon. Okay, the moon's applying to a trine with Jupiter, and you can see here the trine, and it's 1 degree away from completion. A lot of people use this, especially in horror area, for timing. So you can say, okay, the moon's about to apply here, and you can give this a time frame, and you can say that in this current moment, this is what's happening. This is what the significations portended by the house and the planet, and that's what's going to happen in the current moment on a mundane level or on a personal level, whatever you want to call it. However, the timing tends to actually be different. There's a different usage of this you can look at. So this is what is called a mundoscope. A mundoscope basically looks at mundane aspects, or what they call rationalized semi-arcs. It's a method proposed by Ptolemy that he expounds on in his books. And basically these are not zodiacal degrees as you might normally see. These are degrees along the diurnal arc. So the midheaven is exactly the highest point in the sky on the arc of the ecliptic, or the sun, or whatever planets are traveling there. So in this case, they're always 90 degrees apart from each other. Now, when you have the zodiac and you're looking at the signs, you're not exactly 90 degrees apart, because it sometimes is a couple times a day, but most of the time, the ascensions of these signs are all different. So eventually you'll get signs that ascend faster or slower in this quadrant, and so the distance between these two cusps will change. I guess what you got to look at here is, it's essentially like the technique used in primary directions. When you use primary directions, you're looking at ascensional times for timing, because it's more accurate than zodiacal degrees. The zodiacal degrees are easier to compute, and so if you're doing it by hand, it's much easier. Doing this is computationally intensive, but we have computers now. I can click a button and bring this up. And so what this does is this allows you to see when the aspects will actually go exact. So right now, it is basically a trine, and you have to count the degrees because it doesn't go in increments of 30. You have to actually count 360, but whatever. It shows you aspects here. But if I go by a few hours, like if I back up a few hours, the aspect disappears. Because I think if I keep going, it turns into a square. So you can have situations where, depending on the time of day and depending on the ascensions of the quadrant that these planets are in, you can get a situation where a trine can look like a square, or a square can become a trine. And that will not only change the timing of the events, it will also change the way they are carried out. A square is harsher than a trine, obviously. And I've seen many cases in horary charts or whatever, mundane, or the chart of the moment, where you'll have squares that aren't so harsh and trines that are much harsher than they should be, or even trines that don't really do much. You can sometimes have a situation where a trine will stretch to become a quincunx, and the quincunx is an awkward aspect, especially if it's not exact. And so you don't get this free flow of the trine. And so this is something very interesting to look at, because you can have these aspects in here that look so exact. Oh, it's 1 degree away, it's got to be really strong. Well, no, not really. If you bring up someone's nativity and they have an aspect within 1 degree, you might think, oh, that's going to be a very loud aspect, something very strong in their personality. Well, look at the Mundoscope and check the aspect there, because during that snapshot, even between 2 slow planets in the nativity, you can have an aspect that can go on for days or weeks even. Looking at this, it can change hour by hour. And so you can have different people born in the same day with completely different results. And this is part of the reason why. It's not just the degree of the ascendant, the degrees of the midheaven. That sure matters, but a lot of it is the mundane aspects. And we now have enough tools to where it's like we really should be looking at these things. This is something I've never seen modern astrologers talk about, at least not any ones that seem to matter. I mean, maybe the Uranian astrologers looked at it at one point, I just don't know, but whatever. Point is, this is a very useful tool. It's an ancillary tool. After you've examined a chart, it's good to come in here and look at these aspects. During transits, you will see many times conjunctions are almost always significant. You will see many examples of a conjunction bringing about the significations that it is supposed to. However, when it comes to aspects, you may find that it's more inconsistent. This is why. That being said, if you have an aspect that's about to occur, like say you cast a transit chart for the moment, you see, this trine happening, you can be rest assured that it's eventually going to happen, or that it would have happened in the recent past. It just may not be happening at that exact moment, because during the day, you're going to get this cycle. And if you keep moving it around, you will see that cycle begin to change. So this is how you perfect the aspects and make them more accurate in terms of time, but also effect. Now, you can also do this in solar fire. It's not as good in my opinion, but you can still do it. If you come up here, if you have your chart, you come up here, go to harmonic/transform, scroll all the way down to Z analog diurnal arc. You click that, and now you have supposedly the same chart, but with rationalized semi-arc. They call it something different, but that's basically what it is. And my aspects are computed differently in this program, so it's going to be different, but this is how you would do it in solar fire. And I guess you could take this and animate it, walk it back and forth. And you can see the moon moving, the ascendant. Now the zodiac, as you can see, is there. They didn't take it away, but it's meaningless in this case because it's a mundane aspect. You can see that the ascendant and the midheaven are exactly 90 degrees apart, as you would expect. So this chart is operating completely different than a normal zodiacal cast chart. You're just looking at aspects only. But nonetheless, this is a very useful technique I've found. I think you can even do this in Sirius as well. A lot of programs can do it because it's relatively easy for a computer to do this, because for them to compute a regular chart, they have to be able to look at aspects in Mundo anyway, because they have to look at the location of the planet with respect to latitude and right ascension and its exact location. So for it to compute something like a mundane aspect is not hard. I find this to be quite useful, and I've slowly incorporated it into my readings and into my interpretations of different charts.